Is there a lot of stuff in, can you see a lot of stuff in the background of my screen or
Nope, can't see anything.
cool?
All right, we are live on YouTube.
Hey, hey.
Make sure. Yeah, this is gonna be a quick episode because bad weather's about to get here. We've had like 20 to 30 mile an hour winds all day today.
Yeah. I got the chat pulled up.
Nobody. Zero. Someone said Auburn went from outright SC champs to outright SC champs after this game. That's
That is a true statement. No lies detected. And one thing I'm really glad is I'm glad this might be the last time we face Wade Taylor. I say might, you never know, but um, should be last time we face him. Henry Coleman, Alex Garcia. Those guys have given us fits over the years.
yeah,
It was unbelievable how bad of a rebounding job we did.
it was. All right, we're gonna go live. We're gonna start recording here in just a second.
Okay.
Um,
How do you vote for an MVP in a loss?
it's tough. I mean, I can't believe Janai played 32 minutes. I feel like he sat on the bench for so long.
Yeah, he had like a 5 minute stretch, it felt like, where he didn't play.
He's been a ghost past 2 games. Um, all right, give me 1 second. All right, we are going live in three, two, and one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Jungle Auburn Basketball Podcast, a episode where we have not done a lot of these throughout the year. A loss episode where number one Auburn falls to number 22 Texas A&M on the road, 83 to 72. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Norman, joined by Taylor Norman. We may be joined in just a minute by another Norman as well. So we have a late night Norman episode. Typically, these are a lot of fun. We're really excited about a win. We have not done a loss episode since the Florida game. So vibes are a little low, but we're here to talk about it as always after every game. Taylor, what are some of your initial thoughts before we dive into talking about a great partner that we have partnering with us here at the Jungle Auburn podcast?
Yeah, it was coming out of this, I'm not surprised by the loss. Surprised by the way it was or it occurred. And some of the ways like we didn't respond throughout the game. But it felt like the perfect trap game. It was said multiple times on the broadcast. We're coming off of an SEC championship win against Kentucky. We celebrated. We had a short turnaround. Really only got 1 day of practice prep prior to playing against Texas A&M. They're coming in and inspired at senior night. These seniors have given us fits over the years. So it was just kind of a perfect storm. Away game. Texas A&M is a really solid team. They've fell down the past few games, and so this was a nice bounce back game for them. I'm not too disheartened by the loss as long as we don't turn it into two. this upcoming Saturday. But yeah, it felt like the perfect storm. We all kind of had this feeling in the back of our mind, like this is potentially could happen this game. Denver Jones also being out didn't really help. So um, yeah, it's tough. Tough dealing with loss when we haven't really dealt with much this year. We just always feel like we're gonna win. So it sucks having to deal with another one, but gotta take it in stride and come back this Saturday against Alabama.
Yeah, vibes are low, disappointed in today's outcome, but it's not, it's easy to get very excited and vibes get really high when you partner with
Ooh.
Warfame Eagle. So as we mentioned last time, this episode today is brought to you by and proudly brought to you by Warfame Eagle, because you just don't wear your team spirit, you live it. So born right here in Auburn, Alabama, which is where I live and where I'm from, where we're from, where we went to college, everything. Warfame Eagle is more than just a clothing brand; it's a family. Um, Created by a local crew here based in Auburn, Alabama, that gets just what it means to belong. War Fam is all about wearing what you're feeling, from polos to pullovers, sweatshirts to hats. They've got you covered. Literally, if y'all are on the YouTube page or go back and watch it, I'm wearing a War Fam Eagle shirt right now. Got it here on the front of the shirt and then on the back. I also have a great navy blue hat. It's probably my favorite hat with a rope across it. It is great. Whether you're gearing up for game day or just repping Auburn pride in your everyday life, Warfame Eagle is the way to go. So why wait? Go to warfameeagle.com with code Jungle15 to join the family. We're really excited to be partnering with these people. They've been great. We're really excited for the brand that they are launching here. We've had coaches such as Bruce Pearl, Butch Thompson, if you're following baseball team, who've worn this in their press conferences. So really excited to be partnering with them throughout the rest of the season and through the tournament. So go to warfameeagle.com, use code Jungle15. All right, so those vibes are obviously high. What was
Oh.
not high tonight was our rebounding ability on both the offensive and defensive glass. I think coming into this game, Texas A&M had some of the worst percentages in terms of shooting, field goal percentages, but they had the best offensive rebounding percentage, defensive rebound percentage. All the games I've watched them throughout the year this year, they are shooting a ton of shots, a lot of shots per possession, and they're just crashing the boards like crazy. They are all over the place, and it showed tonight. A lot of it was more of an effort. I would have to say there was a lot of non-effort plays that our guys had that I think earlier in conference season and earlier in the year, and even as recently as the past couple games, the effort was there. It just was not there tonight. And A&M, like you mentioned earlier, this is the game they had to have. You cannot have five straight losses. You cannot have, you know, coming into the tournament where seeding is going to matter, SEC tournament where seeding is going to matter. For the five straight losses, just is not the pattern that you want to have going into it. And it showed tonight. I mean, it's clearly obvious that showed. We threw up a lot of lineups that we had not thrown out there throughout the entire year. I mean, Kai Howard hadn't played in meaningful minutes in the past 10 games since the Tennessee game. Um, and he played a lot of meaningful minutes tonight. There were just a lot of weird things, weird combinations that we had to do just because of Denver Jones being out, and they capitalized on it. And the offensive rebounding showed, and the total rebounding showed. Texas A&M had 41 rebounds to our 25. It was clearly evident that they were bought into that part of their game plan, and they really dominated us throughout the entire game on that side of the ball and that side of the stat sheet.
Uh, I mean, biggest stat line is that offensive rebounding. They had 24 offensive rebounds. That is insane. And
Insane.
and and, Ryan, if you get the chance to throw up the box score,
Yeah,
and
let's do
share
it.
that. But 24 to our 9 offensive rebounds, so many second chance points. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was a lot of effort plays. they're not bigger than us or taller than us, but it's just a lot of effort plays that we weren't making. Part of it's tired, but all teams are tired at this point. So I don't know. It was a little bit of a ridiculous how bad of a rebounding game we had. You're typically not the strongest rebounding team, even though we put out some tall lineups. But I mean, giving up 24 second chance opportunities, 24 rebounds is absolutely insane. I really think that was the biggest storyline coming out of this game.
Yeah, it was I think throughout the year we've a lot of Auburn's positivity throughout the team and what we're really good at covered up a lot of the rebounding issues this team has had throughout the year. I mean, you can go back and look at a lot of our games. I mean, there were a lot of our games where we got out rebounded, but yet we still won. The one game that it comes to mind, obviously, is the Florida game, where they dominated us throughout the game and especially down low and rebounding. And this kind of had a similar feel to it a little bit, just in terms of like their ability just to bully us a little bit and bully Janai.
Yep.
And that was, I think a frustrating part for me watching the game is that like there was just not a want to, and that's to be expected, right? I mean, there's a human element to a lot of this. I mean, let's be honest here. You someone brought an analogy up, and I think I said this to a lot of people, is that this is like you're an NBA team, right? There's 82 games left in the year. You just clinched home court advantage for yourself going into the playoffs, right? What else do you have to play for here besides pride and you already got the ring, you already got everything you need moving forward in March. Like A&M just wanted us more. I mean, let's be honest here. That's just how the game turned out to be. And I think there was points of the game where like it was 23-20, it was like 25-23. I was like, all right, we're hanging in there. And then they went on a little run. I don't think they ever looked back. So just some quick thoughts there. Welcome in. We officially have a Norman Brothers podcast here, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome in Jared Norman. We are
The
live.
trio.
The trio is live. This is Jackson Garrett's dream, ladies and gentlemen. Jackson, the creator of this podcast, he has always wanted a Norm Brothers, and he gets it on a loss episode. One of the worst. These are some of the worst episodes you could do, folks. Is just like you want to go to bed. We're out here losing power in Auburn. I lost power twice throughout the game, so I think we're good now. But Jared, what are some of your initial quick thoughts after? You know, watching that game and dissecting that and just some things that you saw throughout the game.
I think I appreciate you introducing me first and foremost, but I think I agree 100% with what you were saying about from the beginning. It kind of looked like we were playing lazy, like we didn't give a rep, like we were the champion, like we are the champion. And from there, I think it kind of carried over into the rest of our play. Obviously, Denver not having him hurt us, but I think we might have lost this game, but it might end up helping us in the long run. He had Tahad getting minutes that maybe he wasn't prepared for, maybe he wasn't ready for. He's kind of that Wendell guy that comes off the bench. He gets those hot minutes, those hot scores, and for him to come in as a starter, it might carry over into March. And I think it's a good take for him to come in, be hot, CBM. I knew he was going to play hard, play the way that he was supposed to. But the rest of the guys, I kind of figured it was going to play out that way. And I knew it was going to be the Super Bowl for them. And, it's okay. It's part of the game. And I realize a lot of people in the SEC are football fans. And, you can take a loss here or there, but I kind of figured from the beginning of the year the losses we had were the ones we have. So, I'm
Yeah.
not surprised by it. I'm not shocked by it, but I think the way that we played throughout the game will benefit us in the long run. I hope. But
Yeah,
that's the way I think about it.
it's you're right. I mean, there could be some things that you can take away from this as learning. And I think we all saw that Florida loss as an opportunity to for this team to grow. Like during that time period, um, there was a lot of learning experiences from that loss that I think they took into big games that they played in, especially like the Alabama game, some other games that you know this team we're about to hit March and we got to get to an MVP vote here in just a second because every episode we have an MVP, and unfortunately during the loss we have to pick an MVP. But you know, we're gonna have a discussion here in a minute on going into March Madness in the tournaments. Has this team, do we know what this team's ceiling is still? Do we know? We obviously know what the floor is. I think tonight's probably the floor. Like let's be real here. Florida game and this game are the floor, which if your floor games are two potential number one seeds and probably a 2-3 seed, then it's a pretty good floor, right? So we know what our floor is. We're going to talk a little about the ceiling. We got to pick an MVP, or else the other guys will be upset about it. I get it. We've always picked an MVP in this podcast. I got to go with the stat sheet stuffer here, and what kind of kept us in the game there at the end is Todd Pettiford. Look, I mean, the guy had to step in and play a lot of minutes tonight. He had to play, he had to play 35 minutes. He hasn't played 35 minutes all year. He hadn't started for us this year. There were some fouls and some defensive lapses, but on the offensive end, he had to take the game in his hands and hit some big shots. He was 6 of 10 from the three. He was 6 of 11 from the field, 19 points. That's going to be my vote for MVP because without him, this would have been a blowout. To be honest with you, and especially in tonight's circumstances, if he would have gotten in foul trouble or anything like that without Denver, I think the first half it was trending CBM because CBM kept us in that game in the first half, but they kept him at bay and at check the second half. So what are y'all's thoughts? Taylor, I'll start with you. Who's your MVP for tonight's game from the Auburn side in this loss?
Yeah, I guess the only two that can make an argument is Pettiford and Chad Baker Mazzara. I see Connor in the chat is throwing out Pettiford's name as well. So I think you have to give it to Pettiford just out of, I think you touched on it. He was keeping us in the game as much as he could. Sometimes he did try to do too much. Sometimes he turned it over, and I think that as Jared pointed out earlier, um, it was a learning experience, and I think that could benefit him moving forward through the rest of March, going into the tournament, as well as fingers crossed he comes back next year. So I think you have to give it to Hod. He was knocking down some great shots. Really kept us in the game from a scoring perspective. CBM was probably the other candidate that, I mean, like you said, from the first half, hit some good shots, get some good threes, had some good blocks and defensive moments as well, some steals. But stat sheets tougher to Hod is probably that go-to, and I think the added of having to take over majority minutes of the point guard position is not an easy task. So when you're not used to it, so I think Todd's my vote as well. Jerry, what do you think?
I would have to agree. I think it's to Hyde just because of the minutes he had to play. Obviously, Chad was great, but Chad just kind of did what he always does. I expect that out of him every game. To Hyde really had to step up. He had to start from the beginning. He had to, play the whole game, earn those extra minutes that he didn't necessarily have to. But some of the turnovers he had, yeah, we get it. But at the same time, we've been hating on Denver all year because of some unnecessary turnovers. But yet we love it when he hits 5 threes in a row. So I'm like, why can't we love Dahad tonight while he hits 5 threes? So love the way that he played, love the way he stepped up. He's yet to not step up. So he's my guy tonight for sure.
Yeah, I think we got to crown Todd MVP tonight just due to that and you know I think if there's going to be a lot of crazy narratives coming out of this game that really meant nothing to this team. Like
Ryan, are you gonna say Auburn fans are gonna overreact? Is that what you're trying to
I
say?
am because I've already seen it, and I've already
What?
seen the
We
Duke
don't do
fans
that.
flooding Twitter and X that, but I mean, it's just human nature. Like, what's crazy to me is we locked up the SEC championship in the toughest season conference, ever in terms of statistically what the SEC has this year. I'm going off the cuff here. Duke fans are flooding Twitter right now, obviously calling for that number one ranking, etc. Hey, Duke, you guys got to win Saturday, or you're going to be the number three seed in your own conference tournament. They could lose Saturday and be the number three seed behind Clemson and Louisville. So, you know, let's wait before you come calling for our heads because that's still got to be the case here. But,
Yeah.
I think it's we're gonna crown Tahad the MVP tonight just because of that. I think it's just the stat sheet there is gonna say something. We'll get into some of the other things we saw tonight, but we'll go ahead and crown Tahad MVP for the game tonight. In terms of some other things, what else did y'all see besides rebounding, besides, what Tahad's play was, you know, do y'all think that over the past couple games, Janai has played himself out of the National Player of the Year race?
I was about to say, speaking of overreactions, is that an overreaction? Is that or is that in line with potential truth? Is has Janai the past two games at the last minute playing himself out of National Player of the Year? Um, it's hard to say. I mean,
Possibly.
two games where he struggled, um, struggle finding his shot, turning it over at points, single digit points. It's not been good the past two games, but I think if you come out Saturday and have a strong game against Alabama, which he usually does, then that should wrap it up. But it's gonna be I mean it's close between him and Cooper. And Cooper I think you got a lot of things going Janai's ways, being the toughest conference, number one team, all that stuff. And but it's this definitely hasn't helped his chances the past two games.
No, it really hasn't. And what I usually think about is, all right, he's the best player versus the best prospect, which
Hmm.
recently they've been killing everybody, Duke has. And to Ryan's point, it might not be that strongest of the conference, which that's why they're killing them. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, why do you win 29 games just about and you don't have the player of the year in the strongest conference? And that goes back to your point, talking about, I mean, the way he comes in and out every game, rebounding, efficiency, scoring the basket. Even if he has a bad game, the way that teams prepare for him, I believe makes him. It's almost like a Zach Edey. The way teams prepare for it, you have to. It's almost evident that you have to.
It's really weird. The games that Janai does not play well in, you could see early on in the game that he is not making like let's tonight he went like 0 for 4, 0 for 5 to start the game and had a couple turnovers, whatever. And then the same thing, at Florida, maybe he had a couple at points to start off the game or whatever, and then he got kind of shut down. I think I'm scared he has a body language issue when it comes to these type of things. Like when he gets taken out of games or he misses baskets a lot early on, and you can tell they're physically trying to go at him. Like they were isolating him in the post early on, and then he had the weird shoulder thing, which I'm not going to go into detail about, but that's a common thing that we're starting to see here. Like he just like takes himself out of the game immediately when those things happen, and he comes back in, and it's like, well, he's not going to be effective anymore because you can see those shoulders hang. You can see him get down on himself, and like I'm starting to see a trend, and when we start to play teams like at A&M or Florida, that there's tape out there on how to beat us through Janai. And that's a scary thing going into the March. But at the same time, we've seen those type of games where like if we know we have an advantage and we know that he has an advantage, like he's taking that advantage and we're unbeatable. So it's like, and that's the thing with March, like who are we going to get matched up against that's going to be the case? It's all going to come out.
Matchups are huge.
It's all going to come out in Selection Sunday. When it comes down to the National Player of the Year race, there's still that one game left, and we'll see what happens there. You got to imagine with it being at home, his last game there, like he always plays well against Alabama. Like it's hard to see that happening again. But the past two games doesn't help with what the paper mache that Cooper Flag's playing against in the ACC. That's whatever. But it's definitely frustrating from that end because I really wanted it for him bad, and we'll see what happens there. But there's people watching like a hawk these past couple games, and the Duke logo and just his play doesn't help that case at all. Um, you know, Anything else from the game? Obviously we had more turnovers than we'd had tonight. Obviously Buzz Williams defenses always tend to turn us over, always tend
Mhm.
to play hard against us. Thoughts about that? Do you think having Denver tonight would helped? Um, what are kind of some other stats or the things you all noticed from tonight's game?
I think it definitely would have helped having Denver. I mean, it would have eliminated a couple of turnovers, you would hope, but I think a couple of made threes here and there would have helped, but obviously made free throws would have helped along the way. I mean, I hate on Tahad. I know he was just our MVP, but missing 3 or 4 free throws, same comes from Cheney or Janai. I mean, free throws come they're charity stripes. They're free baskets. We got to make them, and it hurts down the road when in most games you're hitting threes from deep. You're hitting those long range shots that end up counting. But when you're not getting rebounds and you're not making free throws, it ends up hurting down the road, and it's pretty evident.
I think Denver definitely would have helped. I mean, from an effort standpoint, he's kind of our defensive leader. Guard, especially guard, taking out Phelps or Wade Taylor, who both had double-digit points, and they still would have gotten theirs to an extent. But I think from a
I
defensive standpoint, that would have been a huge boost. And then just from an effort standpoint as well, just giving us another weapon out there. I think it was said in the broadcast multiple times. It's the way Buzz plays his defense doesn't match up well against how we coordinate our offense. Our offense is a lot of swinging around rather than driving straight to the basket. But Denver is one of those guys that can get to the basket, and so and drive downhill. So I think that would have been a helpful piece there. Um,
Yeah, I mean, look, Denver has shut down everyone he has played this year. Like he really has. So tonight, Wade Taylor probably would have had a few less baskets. Like let's be honest tonight, if Denver would have played. And I truly believe that he got robbed of some of the national player in terms of defensive player of the year, some of those awards, like Denver not being included in those hurts because you saw tonight with his absence, like Wade Taylor was pump faking Todd a lot. Just I complimented Todd last episode and he deserved it on like how much he's improved on defense throughout the year because coming in this year like d defense was never really a part of his game. Like but he has worked, he's coachable. He got to that point where he became a good defender and it showed in that Kentucky game. Tonight he got schooled a little bit like by Wade Taylor who's you know a fifth, sixth year senior. I think I just saw a tweet. They literally just retired Wade Taylor's jersey after that game, which
Yep.
wow.
kind of blows my mind a little bit. I don't know, like that's a huge prestigious honor, and I think he became or he's about to become the leading scorer in Texas A&M history, I believe I saw. So
He was 14 points away from it in our game once he already had 11. So I'm not sure
okay,
if he hit it or not. I haven't looked at his stats, but yeah,
I think
pretty
he's still a
close.
couple short. I think he's got like 9 left, but that's crazy. Like that's a
Good
wild.
for him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great for him. But like immediately after a game, that's like we're gonna we're gonna put your jersey right there. Like that's
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Some
Um,
NBA Hall of
Can we
Famers
see
take
the
like years to get
25-year-old
this.
memes about him at this point, compared to
yeah,
his dad
right,
and Janai?
right. Like so, I think him playing against like a Tahad there was a huge advantage because he was, especially in that late second half. I remember there was like a pump fake. Todd flew by. He hit like a 3-pointer in his face. Just some things there I think Denver would have helped out on. But you know, I I thought it was kind of shocking. I don't know about y'all that we saw Ja'Kai Howard play 12 minutes tonight. 12 meaningful minutes on the road. You could tell that how much like you could tell that he can make a difference in a game, right?
Mhm.
By his like athleticism, by his basketball ability. You could also tell that he looks like he hadn't played in 10 games,
Yep.
right? By turning the ball over, by just not being on the right place at the right time. Was that surprising to y'all? Do y'all think we're going to see Ja'Kai a lot more moving forward? Um, some thoughts about our mystery man Ja'Kai Howard.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by how much he was able to play or did play
Played
tonight.
more than Chris Moore, by the way. Played
Yeah,
four more
that's
minutes.
interesting. I mean, you definitely saw on display like a couple baskets that he had where you're like, dang, like you see the potential. And then but he also the basketball IQ at some points where pulls up for a contested three and airballs it. Then the technical foul that he drew, and it's just like, man, you just need to at this point like know your role and stay to that, like athletic, go for rebounds, play good defense. And so I don't know if we'll see much of him. If Denver comes back, and I think he will Saturday, typically going into March, into tournament time, you start narrowing down on your bench. And so I think we'll get back to our typical rotations and things like that. So I think this was just a needed extra few minutes, give him an opportunity to see if he can make a difference and find his ways for some extra minutes down the stretch in these next few games. But yeah, I don't foresee him continuing on that path this year. So I think it was just circumstances for this game tonight.
I agree with Taylor. It's probably based off circumstances, but I'm going back to my first point about hopefully training these guys towards March and taking away the people that might. Can you guys still hear me? It looks like I cut out.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay, sweet. So it looks like we're training these guys towards March, giving these guys minutes like the hot. Obviously, we're dealing with injuries like Denver, but don't want to risk these guys and put him in these kind of situations. He started out hot, gave a couple of rebounds, gave a couple turnovers, couple of boards, couple of points. It looked pretty nice at first, but to Taylor's point, it's like, how long does that last? How long are we actually trying to implement him into this? And I like the way that he came into the game, but at the same time, it's like, how does this play into March? Is he really going to get those minutes that he got tonight? Or are we just, kind of banking towards the future and, not playing anybody really tonight, not trying as hard as we probably should be because of who we are. But I would think that it's great experience for him, and if we need him in March, he's there to get it. But you got to cut out the things like the stupid technicals, the slamming the ball on the ground, thinking you're at OTE, doing things.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's like
That
come
was
back down
crazy.
to earth, and it's like, I mean, I love Bruce, but we all love Bruce, and we know how he is as a coach. It's like, how many times do we have to, how many strikes do you get before it's over?
Yeah, that was. I mean, that was the most meaningful minutes he's played since the Tennessee game, where he like went to the locker room and never came back out. So to see him go in there and like grab a couple boards, hit a couple shots, like that was encouraging. And look, like I still think he has the ability to win us. Like we saw this in the non-conference, like just with his athleticism, especially against like Purdue and some of those out of conference teams. Like his athleticism, he can win us a game
Off the
by
top.
Hmm.
doing something, you know, above the rim. Like, but then there's those moments like there's a Tahad foul and one, and then he throws the ball at midcourt and like doesn't catch it and it flies. And like, yeah, of course that's a technical. Like that I was shocked that he played 12 minutes tonight more than Chris Moore. Jackson loves to track Chris Moore minutes, has the past couple of years, and like, we've seen some really good Chris Moore minutes throughout the year. So I'm actually kind of shocked that he did not play more, but I think tonight we needed a little more offense just due to the fact that we like, it's weird because like we needed more stops. We were fouling a lot, and they were calling a lot of fouls. But, we stuck with a lot of offensive minded lineups with the Hod and some of those guys, Jakai out there, from that standpoint. So, from a human nature standpoint, I kind of see the way that this game went because, you know, you clinch the SEC, like this game had zero implications. I would have to imagine and think that if there was implications, we would have been more physical. We would have been more put our body on the line. Are y'all in agreement of that? Do y'all think that this was just a one-off? And let's
No,
see.
I agree 100% compared to when you just watched us against Kentucky. I mean, everything was on the floor. Did you see us after the game celebrating? I mean, that meant so much to us, and obviously so. I mean, rightfully so. It did, but compared to this game tonight, I mean, to your point, we clinched everything on the bus. We saw the video. We don't really have anything to play for besides just preparing everybody, giving their minutes, making sure everyone's ready for what's ahead, so we don't have what happened last year happen again. And I mean, I don't think it's a fluke by any means. I think they were just prepared. That they played their hearts out. It was their Super Bowl. I I think it's them trying to get to where they want to be, and we're already to where we want to be, and we're preparing for that.
Yeah, it's Bruce in this press conference now just said we've got to man up. The scouting report's out. Like, Janai, dude, you got to man up down low. Like, you got to
Hmm.
show that you're a fifth year senior. You're a national player of the year candidate. You got to go at your matchup. You like the tape is out on how to beat us. I really believe that. And we have so many different ways that we can win games, and we've shown that throughout the year. We've shown that as we had the number one strength of schedule in the country. Like we showed teams how we can win in many different ways. Tonight, the Florida game, the Duke game, like there are also a lot of different ways that you can beat us. Now, I personally don't think that those ways will come out until hopefully Sweet 16 Elite Eight, and like those are going to be like our tough matchup. Like you just that's the thing with March. Like you just never know who you're going to play next round. We could win. We could win our next round. Oh, hey, we're playing a 13 seed someone because they went on a Cinderella run. And then, your matchups, like you just never know. So I think that if people of the podcast remember, and you all remember, last year we played at Florida. We got absolutely spanked. We got annihilated. We got exposed, all that stuff. We played Florida in the SEC championship game. We went back. We spanked them on a neutral court. We played one of our best games of the year. Obviously, they had an injury that hamstrung them. Like, but you just like you could go lose on the road and play a team in a neutral site, and all those factors get eliminated, and it's just a matchup now, right? So we could have Texas A&M on our bracket, play them again, and win by 20. That's just how March Madness goes, you know?
I think the thing is we can't let this turn into a trend similar to how it happened with Jabari and Walker's year. We go into it towards the end of the year, we play that Texas A&M team in the SEC tournament and get manhandled or get handed to us. Buzz Williams does this thing against Bruce, and you just saw how we started losing. We were losing momentum, and the book was out on how to beat us, and then we got matched up in a similar philosophy and style against Miami in that second round and got it handed to us again. And so I think we got to be. I think this team's a lot different than that team, and we're a lot more talented across the board, especially from with our guards. And so I don't foresee us being going down that route. But I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, it's not getting any easier from here. You're playing against a top 25 team, and then you're moving into Saturday playing against a top five team, and then you're going to move into playing another top 25 team in the SEC tournament. So it's just from here on out, it's going to be a battle, and we got to make sure we respond. So I do think, I think we need to get to some comments in the chat, where
Yes. We got, as always, Pocket Watch. Join us, Pocket Watch. Thank you so much. We always are jungling after every game. Join us live here on the virtual Tumors Corner, brought to you by our good friends of Warfam Eagle. Thank you, Pocket Watch, for joining. Andrew Stone. A lot of people said Broom needed to play tonight in order to chase a Wooden. He might have been better off sitting out. He needed to play tonight. He needed to play tonight and against Alabama. I think he's got it. I thought tonight he was going to come back after the Kentucky game. To be quite honest with everyone, and have a really good game. That did not play out that way. So we got to hope again against Alabama that he's going to come out and have another United performance on against our in-state rivals. Mr. Beautiful, thank you always for joining us here. Denver will be back. Broom just needs an ice bath. Yeah, I had a friend say one time that I'm not taking Janai Broom's injury serious until the coroner comes out, which, it's Janai always tends to overplay sometimes his injuries. I thought once he grabbed that shoulder, it was like, oh, here we go. He's going to be out for another couple of weeks. But I guess he was good and he came back in. So, I'm glad that he was able to come back in. Um, Gibbs says disappointing but not surprising. Definitely missed Denver, but missed our effort level even more. Love the show. Keep it up, guys. Thanks, Gibbs, for joining us. Yeah, I would agree that it was disappointing. Um, I think we all kind of saw this coming. We thought that we would overcome it as usual as the number one team in the country, but we definitely missed Denver. I think tonight showed more than anything that Denver Jones is a vital piece to this team.
idle.
And,
Yeah.
and he is a vital piece to some national awards that I think he's being skipped out on for whatever reason. And look, we also didn't hit on the fact that Miles Kelly he didn't hit a shot tonight. I think he hit one shot, 10 free
It's like
throws.
one jumper, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, folks, like, we saw what we could do when we're hitting shots. We're not hitting shots tonight. Our best player's missing wide open shots. Our best shooting guard, Miles Kelly, like, I don't think that's going to happen in the March Madness game. I really don't. So, it is what it is. It happens. But, you know, he started off. I don't know if you noticed, at the beginning of every single game, we always run a play to have Miles shoot a wide open shot, and he hits those probably 85% of the time. He missed it tonight. I don't think he made it one until he made like a random floater on a transition layup, and then he hit 10 out of 10 on free throws, and had 12 points. So it was just a weird off night for Miles, which could be expected after going flaming hot against Kentucky. Human nature says you're not going to hit every shot you take. So, but not to hit one tonight was definitely disappointing from that end. A couple other comments here. Mr. Beautiful says Pettiford CVM looks good. Andrew Stone, Howard had some flashes that looked good. Also, some that did not look good, as we touched on. But overall, I thought it was a positive. I think, yeah, I mean, I think overall it was a positive that he got a little playing time in some critical minutes.
Be really interesting to see if he gets any minutes against Alabama. So I think
Yeah,
that'll
I
tell
don't
you
know.
if it going into tournament time if he'll be a factor or not. So we'll see. Yeah, it'll be interesting. See if Denver comes back. I think that'll play a factor into it. I gotta think, if he was able to at least warm up and felt like a game time decision, he should be good by Saturday. We just got to make sure we stay healthy. I think that's the biggest thing going into tournament time. But we do need to get some momentum. It's always good peaking in March, and so this game is not it's not peak. So let's hit, we hit the bottom and let's head Gus Malzahn. Let's go this way. So we just need to start going this way, fellas. Um,
I
and,
did
and not
love how Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans were at the game because, like,
what a throwback.
regardless.
Yeah, yeah. People don't like us mentioning the F word on this podcast. Let's say football F word. But yeah, it was. Look, we. If I told y'all, I mean, we obviously all three of us grew up together as brothers, but we went to some really, really, really bad games at Beardy's Coliseum and at Neville Arena. It is absolutely storming like crazy outside. Um, if I was to told you that we, as the number one team, got rushed the court on by like Arkansas, now Texas A&M, was there another team I'm missing that we got rushed on? But like teams have rushed the court against Auburn,
Yeah, that's crazy.
and the stars have come out to watch us play. Like that is just that's wild to me. It will never it will always be wild to me because that's like that's a Duke, that's a Kentucky, that's a North Carolina, that's a Kansas. Like those are the teams that people rush the court on, not Auburn. It's just crazy to me.
And
It's wild.
crazy enough is what our record is this year, and that's why I think, as our fan base is concerned, we understand that, considering what you just said, and a lot of these teams are bound and determined based off football or based off their past that they really truly don't understand that, and like guys don't give up hope because they lost 3 games. I mean, look at where we were when we went to the Final Four, for instance. It's like we got a team, we got a squad, we are defending SEC champs. So we can come back, we can do what we got to do. But I think tonight was a learning lesson. You might have to lose some in order to get the greater good, but I think tonight's loss ended up teaching us more things than it did being a loss. I think it was a win in reality because we got guys that got minutes that shouldn't have got the minutes they had. We got guys that took the shots they shouldn't have shot, and then we got guys that got the rest that they deserved at the same time. So I think it all plays out in the end. We'll see how it plays out in the end, but I'm excited to see how it goes. But
Yeah, well, let's do a couple of quick looks around SC here, then we'll wrap up some thoughts and some forward-looking thoughts for the rest of the year. So we like to go through just kind of some results for tonight. Arkansas looks like they're probably going to take care of business here against I guess it just went final because it went on the bottom of my screen. So a couple of results here. Georgia beating South Carolina on the road. Big win for them. Kentucky was mad that we absolutely whooped them at home. So they went and then whooped LSU at home 95-64. Texas with a much, much, much needed win against a
Big
team
win.
that I've said has been overrated all year long. That's Mississippi State. Texas with a probably a potential quad one win on the road to help continue to boost the SEC's amount of teams that are going to get into the conference. Texas, if people didn't realize this, lost at South Carolina this past week. Or no, sorry, Arkansas did. Texas lost to Georgia at home. So it's just like the bottom teams that are trying to fight for that bubble are just beating up on each other. So Texas's win against Mississippi State is a huge win for them in terms of getting more teams from this seed in the conference into the tournament. So big win by Texas there. And then Arkansas, another team that's looking to fight to get in the bubble, had a horrific no-show against South Carolina, the worst team in the SEC on the road last weekend, last Saturday, goes into Vandy, a place where not many teams besides the Auburn Tigers win at, and took a W away from there, which is shocking. And honestly, I think at this point it's going to be hard not to leave Arkansas out from the field because the selection committee loves some John Calipari.
Yeah.
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 So
Let's as we're talking about SEC, I don't know if you're able to pull up like what is a potential tournament brackets looking like. But maybe let's talk through that real quick as we wrap up. Um, and who do we want to hopefully see on our side of the bracket as it's one more game to decide seeding wise. I think we're looking at Kentucky, maybe Ole Miss, as potential candidates that we'll have to face as the higher seed on that end. But I think with some of these wins with Kentucky, wonder if that moves will potentially move them up to 6 or 7 seed. As I think we'll be lined up to play the 8 seed as long as they beat the lower seed in their matchup.
yeah, it hasn't really updated yet, so I don't think I'm gonna have a good projection on that at the moment. Um, but I do think it slides them up into the 8-7 range. Yeah, we'll definitely have more clarity on our episode next week after the Alabama game.
Yeah.
But with it being late at night and things not really probably updating until the morning, I think probably right now it's safe to say that the 8-9 matchup, which would be our side of the bracket, would look like an Ole Miss, Kentucky, or Mississippi State, who would probably play us as the 1 seed. Vandy was looking like probably the 8 seed that probably just slid down to a 10. Like it was just crazy. Like
Wild.
they lost tonight, which so did Mississippi State. So Kentucky probably slides up to that 7 or 8 spot. Um, and Vandy, Mississippi State, and now Georgia are probably in that 8, 9, 10, 11 spot. So more to come on that. It's just and it could change tomorrow by the results of tomorrow's game. But one thing I do know for sure is that your Auburn Tigers are the number 1 seed in that tournament.
That is straight facts.
Thoughts
Straight facts.
as we wrap up here, thoughts about what you're looking forward to or what you're looking into this upcoming game Saturday against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Jared, I'll start with you.
I think the fans obviously player perspective, being on the road for
Yeah, hey, we can't
now.
forget who's returning back to Neville Arena.
I was gonna say that's the biggest thing for me. It's Aiden Holloway.
Yeah.
Coming back.
And good luck with that, considering we watched how Flanagan went. So
yeah, that's true.
Love that. Love them coming to our arena after we already beat them at theirs. But I look forward to, us rebounding the ball, us actually giving a crap about what we're doing in the game and actually dishing the ball out, doing what we're supposed to do, moving the ball down the floor. I think we play our ball next game, and we're at home. I think the crowd, as I just mentioned, carries us through, but I think we play our ball and we get back to what we're supposed to do, and hopefully we get everybody back in the game. And I think we get prepared for the SEC tournament at that point. But I think we got the minutes that we need tonight, and is going to carry over, and I'll harp on that as long as I can.
I think the biggest key, two things Jared touched on, it's getting everybody back. We'll need Denver back for this Alabama game. Like that is probably key number one, and guarding Mark Sears, because Mark Sears can score in a hurry. So I think Denver Jones getting back and is healthy. That is key number one. And then we need to rebound the ball. Alabama's a long they like to play physical as well. I mean, most SEC teams do, but they're long and athletic, so we got to be able to rebound the ball, get Grant Nelson and Omer or Rory, however you say his name, off the glass, and run them off the 3-point line. Can't let Mark Sears get going. Can't let Aiden get, a vengeance game in some form or fashion and get going. So these guys can shoot. We got to run them off the line, and we need Denver Jones back to do that.
Yeah, I think obviously the big thing is Denver Jones getting a huge, you know, I think if he would have played, if he was healthy tonight, he would have played. And the fact that he went through warm-ups and stuff was a good sign. I don't know if they held him out on purpose or he just couldn't go. So having Denver in that game is going to be big moving forward. I think I'm of the opinion of like if he's not ready to go, just let's not push it. Um, so I think after tonight, there's going to be a huge motivational push by this coaching staff. If we were to win tonight, I would have been more concerned about going into Saturday. I didn't see them be so ready to play. Like there's now a legit reason to play well Saturday after tonight. Like you're gonna have people camping out, you're gonna have people excited to go watch the team play. Uh, there's a reason now for this team to go play well. And Alabama still has a huge game tomorrow against Florida. They're
They got
already
a quicker turnaround.
Yeah.
yeah, they have a quicker turnaround. They're already focusing on us. Like today's press conference, they had someone already mention like, what was your reaction to Auburn's reaction watching Tennessee hit the shot against y'all? Like they're already thinking about that game Saturday.
Yeah.
Like and we got bullied, we got pushed around. The coaching staff after a loss always comes back with something, in the tank for this team. So I fully expect for us to come out Saturday with something, ready to go for this Alabama team. I'll wrap it up here with and then we'll go around this one more time with some quick thoughts moving forward. But real quick, let me throw a stat at y'all. So a stat to our listeners who are down in the dumps, who are thinking, "Oh, woe is us. How are we going to win that championship? How are we going to move forward in March after losing a game like this?" Every team that has won a championship this century has had a loss February 10th or later. Let that sink in. Every team that has won a championship has lost February 10th or later. So, folks, a loss here could be a learning experience. It could be just an anomaly. It could be an opportunity for players to see what they need to work on and move forward. But this is basketball. This is college basketball. This happens.
This
Jared,
is March.
as our good friend John Rothstein, or
Friend
even
of the show.
better friend John Fanta would say, this is March. I hope you all left your cookies and your popcorn out for them that came March 1st. Jared, some final thoughts before we wrap up here on Jungle Podcast.
I think it goes back to what we've been talking about this whole time about the players we highlighted, the minutes they got, the points they scored, and the players that we thought didn't play very well. And I think it combines into March. You think about, great, they got those minutes, they got those points, but where was the other guys like Cardwell, Janai? Where was Cheney? All those guys down low getting rebounds. I think they've done what they need to do. To your point, we've broken records. We've set the expectation to what March is, and we have to go and do it now. and we have the right formula. We have the guys that have that experience. We just got guys' experience in this past game, and now we got to move forward and combine it all together. And I'm excited to see what we're going to do, but ready to see where we go from here. To be
Well,
honest,
it's such a weird game. Like if thinking about back about it, like just a weird like there was no real good flow to the game tonight. It was just a weird game. Like Cheney didn't really ever get real comfortable in the game tonight. Like
That's
I
that's Texas A&M for you, man.
it really is, and like would love to see them again the tournament. Like I think on a neutral site, like I love. We saw how good we played on a neutral site this year, right? Like how many games did we win neutral site? Well, we won all of our games because we've lost
Oh,
everyone either at home or away, which has been three, by the way. Just to remind the folks, three games. Um, this team was so good at neutral site this year. Guess where all the tournament games are played? Neutral site. So I would love to see some of these teams again on neutral site because I think you're going to get a different Auburn than what you got tonight. Taylor, some last thoughts?
yeah, we need a Janai bounce back game next game. We need a Denver Jones come back strong, and then CBM continue how he's playing the past few games. He's been playing really well. Miles needs bounce back games. I foresee a need a few bounce back games against Alabama, and what a perfect game to have a bounce back game against our hated rival across the state against the Bammers. And so that's what I'm looking for. Let's get some momentum going into tournament time. Get our mojo back, our juice back, and where we need to be going into SEC tournament, NCAA tournament. So that's what I'm looking for. I also think this game is key and important because, as you mentioned earlier, the Duke fans are already vying for that number one position, the number one spot. And if we beat Alabama, then that ends the debate. That ends the game there. That will be the number one overall seed. And I would love for us to be the number one overall seed. So we're lined up in Lexington where we have a wide open basket that Miles Kelly loves. So we need that
Yeah.
take a
Lexington
bammer.
spot. We need that number one seed. Let's go to Lexington. Let's go then to Atlanta, and let's go to a Final Four.
Yeah, folks, we're shooting for the double eagle here. We're shooting for the SEC regular championship. Look, all the talk about like let's lose the tournament. No, like
No,
that's loser mentality.
loser
We're
mentality.
we're going for the
Thing off.
double eagle in
Making
Nashville.
history. We're all
And then
about SEC.
let's go ahead and kick it back up on 85 North. I don't know what highway you take next to Lexington,
Run
but
it back
look,
around.
we may even have to do a live Jungle podcast show from Lexington if things work out the right way, second round. We'll, we'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll see what happens here at the Jungle Podcast.
Live
We'll,
from the
Hey,
timber.
we might be live in the SEC tournament. So
Yeah, there's a
uh,
lot of things here, folks, that I think you all should be excited about. There's a couple more chats here, and then we'll wrap it up. So, Mr. Beautiful would love to play Florida or A&M again in the tournament. I agree. Like I would love to play these teams on neutral site. I think they got us on bad occasions. We'll love to play them again. Pocket Watch, our man Pocket Watch, who we all love. He said, "Whoa, three Normans, the Norman Mafia running the show tonight." Look, Jackson Garrett has been clamoring for this for a long time. The late night tips, Central Time, help our guys on the East Coast already asleep. They have no idea what's going on. Scary hours for them. Jared and I are sitting here in Lee County going through a severe thunderstorm warning.
It
As
is
somebody
wild out
you,
there. I ain't gonna lie.
it is absolutely pouring right now. I've lost power twice. Luckily, we still have power in this episode, but it is absolutely slammed here. A lot of folks don't know we have been through the lowest of lows here at the Auburn basketball program. We've also been through the highest of highs. I'm an Auburn graduate. Taylor's an Auburn graduate. Jared's an Auburn graduate. We all three have played basketball our whole lives. We love the sport. We love this team. We love, we love this team, I think, more when we weren't as good than I think we were as good as we are now. Like, that's how dedicated I think of fans we are. So it's really cool. And then lastly, Mr. Beautiful said Stormer Normans. I think we all, there's one Stormer Norman that's myself, but everyone else can kind of fall under that umbrella. I think that's just how it is.
Storm and Norman in the storms.
Yeah, in the storm currently, if you all can see lightning in my background.
Baby storms.
Let's go.
Folks, listen. I think this is just a game that happens, right? You look throughout the whole season, you look through our resume, it is going to be very hard for us not to get knocked off of that overall number one seed. We'd have to lose against Alabama and then the SEC tournament, and even more so. Like, we have 16 quad one wins. We have one of the best resumes in college basketball history. And it's going to take a lot of us not to get knocked off of that number one overall seed. And even if we do, I think it'll be okay because every single number one seed is going to have an absolute crazy path they have to go to reach the Final Four. That's just what makes March March. So you have to take these experiences as learning experiences because from this point forward, losses can't happen. They can't happen. So if there was a loss that hadn't needed to happen, it was going to be tonight. So let's let that happen. Let's learn from it. Let's grow from it. Let's move forward. From Ryan Norman, Taylor Norman, Jared Norman, you got your Norman podcast tonight, folks. Again, check out Warfam Eagle at warfameagle.com. Use discount code Jungle15 at checkout for a discount code brought to you here by the Jungle Auburn podcast. Thank you all so much. Subscribe on all of our channels, socials, Instagram, X, YouTube. We go live after every game here at the Versatile Tumors Corner. We're going to be pumping a lot more content as the season rolls on. We're going to have a tournament preview for the SEC, an NCAA tournament preview. We'll even go deeper into matchups. Folks, this is the time to dive into Auburn basketball. We may never have a season like this again. Enjoy it. War Eagle. Taylor, are you having fun?
Always having fun at the
Jared,
Jungle
you having
Podcast
fun?
and as an Auburn basketball fan. Heck
We're
yeah.
all having fun here. The Norman's having fun. War Eagle, everybody.
War Eagle.
All right, we are still live on the YouTubes, but our
Scary hours.
Scary hours.
Everyone loves the Storm and Normans, so maybe we may have to do this more throughout the postseason.
We'll have some crazy hours postseason. You never know when we'll play, so we'll have to get it going. Like I said, get some live. I'll be up here in Nashville. Get some live action at Bridgestone Arena, and then maybe some time up in Lexington for the crew.
Yeah, it's I mean, as much as tonight sucked, like I do think it's just a good, like,
I think it's good for us, to be honest, but
you need to get beat every now and then. Yeah, Pocket
I have told Preston, who's my roommate, I'm like, hey, from the time we started the season, I'm like, our 3 losses will be Florida, Duke, and A&M.
Yeah, I mean,
not
look,
to say
A&M was
like, oh, that's cool. You're right about that. I'm just saying, Duke is Duke. Obviously, we play at Duke. Florida, me and Taylor watched them last year. I'm like, man, they were really good, and they're returning everybody. I was scared of them from the get go. Then A&M, they always seem to have our number because they play us, which would have been a great point in the podcast. From like, they seem to play us every time it matters for them, doesn't matter for us.
That's a good point. Yeah, it always lines up well.
the SEC tournament. I'm like Wade Taylor. I mean, they always play us, and it's like this helps them out. We're already set to go every time they play, and it's like okay, well, let's start scheduling them as a 10th game of the first of the SEC instead. I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
All right.
it's that was always going to be a tough out for us. I mean, losing two SEC games if we lose if we win Saturdays, it's just going to be like that's still historic. Like,
well, to your point too, it even makes us even more of a blue blood. The fact that they're hanging up Wade Taylor's jersey because half of his wins that are historic are over us. And it's like, all right, well,
yeah,
cool,
I forgot to mention that Buzz Williams is now like
awesome. Well,
6-2.
7-2 over us now.
6-2.
when he graduates, what
SEC.
is there? Cheney coming back? Awesome. Is that really a thing? Is Cheney possibly coming back?
I
Kenny
mean,
Johnson.
Yeah,
it's
They're looking into it.
yeah,
We'll see.
that could be a huge thing for us. I think
Pocket
he's the
Pocket
next
Watch.
Okiki.
Pocket Watch still on with us. He says Stormer Normans. I like it. Great stuff. We start off the SC tournament at noon, I believe. Yeah, that I hate that about the tournament brackets. The number one team always plays the early games,
Yeah.
quarterfinals, semifinals, and championships. So every game will be at noon. Um, Friday on. So prepare accordingly for that. Friday, Saturday, Sunday will all be noon tip-offs. He said tonight was bound to happen. This was the one we wanted to lose, and we had to lose. I would agree. I mean, I think in a scenario where Alabama would have won Saturday, I think this would have been a different outcome. I think probably Denver would have played. Um, we can't speculate on that injury, but I think the outcome would have been different. You could, I mean, we've watched this team so closely throughout the year. I mean, I think there were so many games. I was talking to someone earlier today. I'm exhausted by this season. Yeah, tell me you're good to go if you want to go. Appreciate you joining me,
Oregon.
Morrigal. I'm about to turn off too, but I would just say I am exhausted throughout this entire. You got to, Jaron?
No, I
Oh,
was saying bye to Taylor.
I am this year like this is college basketball as at the top of the season. Like you you every game is a target on your back, and it is exhausting because you can't afford to lose in this day and age or on Twitter or whatever X, like you're getting absolutely manhandled from left to right by fan bases, by whatever, and it is exhausting. So like you're watching every game with such intensity, such stress, and like so by now, like the fact that we won that SC regular season championship, like it's a big exhale, a big like like so I don't blame our guys for like being so, you know, whatever about this game. And, if as a senior in high school, I played a really, really good team my senior year that beat us by like 30 at their place, and then we, beat them by like one or two at our place. Like, I was fired up. I didn't want to lose my last game on my home court. Like, that's just how you are as a senior, as a someone who gave your all at a place, like you don't want to lose that last game.
Yeah,
So, there were points and times of the game where I was like, man, we're playing really bad yet we're still down three. Like they hit more shots, they wanted it more, and that's why I want to see them again on neutral court if we somehow see them again in the SC tournament. But I doubt that'll happen, but we'll see.
I completely agree with you. It's like half the time you watch a game, you're like, why are we leaving them wide open for a three? Why? Buns, miss it, board, opposite way, transition, cash, let's go. We get on that run. And it just didn't happen tonight. No one was rebounding. No one was really doing anything. And it all falls back on the points we were talking about earlier. And to your point, it's like, I think a lot of it has to do about the SEC tournament. I think a lot of it has to do about looking forward to our future to the NCAA tournament. And I don't think we're going to skip over the SEC tournament. I think we're going to do what we have to do. And I think we realize what this year is. But unfortunately, this year is what it is. And to your point, I don't know. I just think a lot of teams are banking on the fact that, hey, this is an absolute gauntlet of an SEC. Auburn's at the top, and whether we want to take a day off, they're not taking a day off. They're going to do what they have to do in order to get to where they have to be. And unfortunately for us, it's exactly what I just said. You can't take a day off. It's like you have to play at that tier every single day. And we set ourselves up to be that way because of our outer conference schedule, who we played the whole year. We've played incredible team. We've almost broken records, which hopefully we should. But at the same time, it comes down to March. And it's like, okay, that's awesome. You've beaten 18 awesome teams, but you just have to lose to one at this time for it to matter. So it's like, where do we go from here? What do we do from here? I don't say the season's over by any means. I think it was a learning experience. I think we talked about it the whole podcast, thinking about the minutes that we got from other people, the minutes that were given, the minutes that weren't given, the minutes that were lazy, the minutes that we got to work on. I think it's all going to play together, hopefully. But to your point, it's like at any second you play like that, you're going to get beat. But at any second you play like, hey, everybody on our bench, we all have equal minutes, we all have equal opportunities. This whole year we've beaten this amount of teams that are this good. We're golden. I don't know. I have obviously huge hopes, but think we could from today get beaten at any moment. It just depends on how we play that day.
Yeah, and we've had the target on our back for a while, so I'm kind of ready to get to March where the target's on everybody's back.
Exactly. And I think today might have even helped us to get that kind of target. I even looked at my roommate and said, I kind of hate that. Obviously, I want to win every game, but I kind of almost like the fact that we one that gets the target off our back just to some extent, but not to. I mean, obviously, we still want the number one seed. We still want the number one seed and everything, but you want everyone thinking, "Oh, I'm good enough to beat them," and really, they're not. But you got to play to that standard every game, and I don't know, it's falling
Yeah.
back on us. But we gotta push through the SEC
Yep.
tournament.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna end it here. It's time to go to bed. We're all tired. All
Understand?
rest up. Let's all rest up for Saturday's game against the Bams. All right, Jared. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, no worries. Good night, everyone.
All right.
Have a good
See ya.
one.